Hey everybody, welcome back. This week I'm going to talk about the movie Dr. Sleep and how it relates to the coronavirus anxiety. This past weekend I saw the movie Dr. Sleep, which is a sequel to The Shining. Both good movies. I was actually surprised how good Dr. Sleep is. The Shining, not an easy movie to be a sequel to, but I thought it did a very good job. But what's the best part about Dr. Sleep is there's just lots of rich psychological symbolism in there, very much like The Shining. But there was one part of the movie in particular, one part of the psychological symbolism in the movie in particular that I think relates to what's going on with the coronavirus now, specifically our anxiety about the coronavirus. And the part of the movie I speak about is the True Knot, which is the antagonist group of psychic vampires that go around and take the psychic energy, the shine from people, especially children, who have a propensity to shine, to have this clairvoyance, this intuitive clairvoyance into the world. It's essentially a symbolism for, intelligence, or maybe intuition, or brightness, or maybe emotional fortitude. It could even be a symbolism for that. But this vampire group goes around and steals this shine from children because they can't make it themselves. And I thought, wow, what a great symbolism. I mean, all vampire myths is ultimately a symbolism for narcissism, right? You can't sustain yourself physically, psychologically, so you need to go and suck the life out of others, whether it's physical life through blood or psychological life through shine in the movie Dr. Sleep. And I thought, what's interesting about this, especially given now in the coronavirus, is, we're going to watch Dr. Sleep and think, man, the True Knot is just absolutely reprehensible, especially how they're portrayed specifically. They're not portrayed in the cool, sexy kind of vampires who's going to suck on your neck. No, it's like they are torturing children, which I think is a very good way to portray vampires because, that's how it feels. I mean, and they even make the point in the movie, we need to put these children through pain, through fear and pain, because that purifies, the psychic spirit. I mean, rich with symbolism there. And we go and watch that movie, and anybody who isn't a complete psychopath, and even some psychopaths, may be turned by this movie because the True Knot is clearly reprehensible. Yeah, what's so interesting is how we can turn around and have the complete opposite view in our own lives. And I think this speaks to the nature of narcissism and really what's behind it, which we'll talk about. So what are some examples of people being the True Knot that I see all the time just in regular life? Like just regular people acting like the True Knot. I mean, I bring this example up a lot, but when anybody, admonishes you not to get angry. Oh, don't get angry. Oh, what are you doing getting angry about that thing? What they're essentially saying is, I'm afraid of your anger. I'm afraid of anger in general, and I don't like it when people get angry. Please don't get angry, even though getting angry is an essential emotional state that you need to get into to get your needs met, to honor things that are important to you, to put yourself first. Because of somebody else's fear, because of their fear of anger, they're uncomfortable when you get angry. And this is a pretty popular opinion. Oh, being angry is bad. Being angry automatically associated with hostility, not necessarily the same thing. You need to be angry before you become hostile, but being angry doesn't necessitate you being hostile. In fact, being angry is a great state to be in, to become aware of what your needs are, what you need to do. And as I've said, it is the motivation you need to get those needs met. Anger, what it does to your body, very much like a stimulant or an amphetamine, right? So it's just like dopamine, adrenaline, focus, energy. It is a great state to be in. It all depends on what you do with that state. Also, I hear this a lot. People will tell you not to work so much. Oh, what are you doing working on that project so much? You need to spend more time with me or somebody else. I mean, this is somebody else saying, it could be a bunch of reasons. I'll just say, for example, it could be, I'm afraid because I don't put as much time into my work. I don't really know what I want to do with my life, and you working on something that's important to you is reminding me of the fact that I don't really know what I'm doing with my life. Please don't work so much. I mean, this is essentially the True Knot, going around stealing the psychic energy out of little kids. I'm uncomfortable with what you have, and I need to steal your energy somehow, so I'm going to chastise you and say, oh, you shouldn't work so much. I'm going to make you feel bad about it. I'm going to guilt you into doing what I want by saying, oh, you got to spend more time with me or the family or whoever else it happens to be. Or maybe just in general, people who make fun of you for starting your own company or getting in a relationship. I mean, you see this with MGTOW guys. Oh, any guy who's in a relationship or any guy that gets married is automatically a simp. Essentially what they're saying is, I can't communicate with women. If you get into a relationship and it works, then it just exposes my worldview to be false, the false worldview that I have. And that makes me uncomfortable. So here we see this narcissism, the psychic narcissism is based in fear. And with the true knot, what were they afraid of? Right? They were afraid of death. I mean, a huge part about this movie, again, I don't have time to go into it now, maybe I'll talk about it on the podcast or with Derek on the Brazen Heads. Huge part of this movie is acceptance of death. And the true knot did such terrible things because they couldn't look at their fear of death, constantly running away from their fear of death. And I think you see a similar kind of true knot perspective come out and be widely accepted because of the coronavirus. Here I have a quotation from Kumail Nanjiani, who I think is hilarious. I don't know him personally, of course, but I think his comedy's funny. I think he's funny. He was the best part about Silicon Valley, and he just seems like a good guy. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm criticizing him, but this view that he expresses here is very common. It's becoming more common, and it's not because he's a bad guy, just because I think there are latent emotions here. If we don't handle these latent emotions, then we're going to inevitably end up like the true knot. Well, here's his quotation from Twitter. People get upset and annoyed at me when I tweet about the coronavirus, when I urge people to stay in and avoid crowds. My favorite person in the world is immunocompromised. I like how that's becoming a word now, immunocompromised. My favorite person in the world is immunocompromised. Go ahead and unfollow me. I'll be tweeting about this until I'm down to 0 followers. And he is afraid of something happening to his favorite person in the world. So everybody else, even people who aren't immunocompromised, we're just using that word, whatever. Even people who aren't immunocompromised, you still got to stay in. Because I'm afraid, because of the fear I have about my favorite person in the world. Not going to my favorite person in the world and saying, hey, what can we do to help? In fact, maybe with the coronavirus, don't go to them at all. Sequester them. And I mean, he has the resources, especially, I'm sure. Not to criticize him for that. It's not what this is about. But sequester that person, quarantine that person. Not that, but to go to everybody else in the freaking world and say, look, we got to quarantine, so you got to quarantine. Based in fear. And this shows us the true cause of narcissism as indicated by the true knot, as indicated by the person who says, don't get angry or don't work so hard. Or as indicated by the person who says, oh, look, we have this coronavirus going around that is affecting. Yes, it is serious. It is very serious for a segment of the population that is either elderly or has a compromised immune system. But for everybody else, I was just researching this to make sure I'm not going crazy. But for everybody else, especially if you're younger than 40 or 45, it is less dangerous. It is less deadly than the regular flu. But you're afraid. You're afraid for your favorite person in the world, so you want everybody else to shut down. And look, this is just how narcissism works. And this just leads to a very important point about our psychology. If we do not first understand, become aware of, and then handle our latent psychological issues, particularly our anxiety, then I don't care how good of a person you are. I don't care how funny you are, or like Kumail Nanjiani, or how good you are at your job like Kumail Nanjiani. You will end up being a narcissist. Not because you're a bad person, not because you're stupid. It's simply how your emotions work. And this is really important to keep in mind when the coronavirus is going around. And yes, it is a threat. I'm not saying not to take it lightly. I'm not saying not to quarantine yourself when you can. If you feel like it's the right thing to do for you when you assess your own risk of first getting the virus and then really being affected by it. But I think if this coronavirus is going to be good for anything, just to look at some silver lining to this, let's look at our anxiety for really what it is, because this virus is exposing our anxiety. Like, you think the virus is causing the anxiety? I mean, maybe to some degree, but also I think a lot of this anxiety was there before the virus showed up, and it's just exposing the anxiety for what it is. But that's the point, right? You got to work on these issues to handle, to get out, so you don't fall into the trap that the true knot falls into. It's not like you just choose not to do it and you won't do it. But that's what we do here at Animus Empire. Right? We show you exactly how your anxiety works. Exactly. On a decision-by-decision, step-by-step basis. And we know if anxiety is affecting you in a negative way, we know what you've been doing with the anxiety, and we have great tools, great resources for becoming more aware of the anxiety. So then when a particularly, maybe perhaps more anxious situation does come up, you don't turn into the true knot. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And remember, if you don't manage your latent emotional issues, you will inevitably steal the shine from others.